Hello, thank you for joining us today for the Starting Your Business in Illinois workshop through the Illinois Small Business Development Center at Danville Area Community College. Illinois SBDC at DACC is part of a network of small business development centers funded at the federal level through the Small Business Administration, SBA, through the state at through the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and locally through Danville Area Community College. As a result, we're able to offer free one-on-one consulting with small businesses, and we're also able to offer low-cost and no-cost workshops to help you as you're starting your business, growing your business, and maybe someday selling your business. Thank you for joining us. I've told you who we are. Now I'd like to tell you who we aren't. We are not bankers, lawyers, insurance professionals, or accountants. Always consult professionals in these fields as your ultimate resource on technical questions. But we will talk about some of these areas in our workshop. One of the first things to think about when you're starting a business is business ownership for you? You need to understand, as when you start a business, that requires expertise and commitment. It requires money and time. And just understand that for the most part, there are not grants for business startup. So therefore, you're going to be investing your own money or putting your own credit at risk in order to start your business. So just keep that in mind as you move forward. Every business starts with an idea. And you probably have an idea for what kind of business you want to start, or you wouldn't be at this workshop today. We need to think, therefore, about whether that business ownership itself meets your own personal and professional goals. So before you even start putting a lot of time and effort into determining whether your idea is viable, the first thing to think about is business ownership something that you want to do? Is that for you? Let's go through a personal feasibility checklist just to ask those questions. Ask yourself, do you like to make your own decisions? Do you plan ahead and get things done on time? Do you have the physical stamina and emotional strength to handle a business? Do you understand that owning a business means working 12 to 16-hour days, maybe up to 7 days a week, and holidays? I oftentimes have had people come to me and talk about starting a business, and one of their goals is not to have to work as hard as they work when they work for someone else. Please know that owning a business means you're going to work harder than you ever have in your life because this business is yours. So even when you are not actually in the business, you'll find that you're ordering your product, you're doing accounting for the business, you're doing all the different pieces that you can't get done during a normal workday in the business. So inevitably, it ends up being a much bigger time commitment than working for someone else. Please know also that you need to also be prepared to lower your standard of living for maybe several months or years. You won't have a guaranteed salary when you own a business, and so therefore you have to be prepared for the idea that you may not be always able to sustain your current lifestyle. So you probably need to have some money set aside to help you get through those initial years. Then also remember, as much as we don't want to think this is possible, you are going to be investing part of your own money in this, and there's always a chance the business will not work, and you could lose that money. I had a friend who, when I started a business, said, can you afford to lose the money you're investing? If you, not do you want to, obviously none of us want to lose any of our own money, and we certainly don't want to lose any of the bank's money either. But understanding that can you get by if that's possible? Will you be able to recover if you lose that money? Those are questions you have to ask yourself. If you feel comfortable with that answer, then you should go ahead and move forward with your plan. So business owners wear many hats. When you work for someone else, you typically work in an operation that has a variety of departments. So you may have a department that's entirely devoted to product development. They may be working on deciding what products or services work best for you to meet your customers' needs. You may have another department that works entirely on sales. A lot of times we say sales and marketing in one breath, but in fact, they are certainly two different things. Sales is that ability to work directly with your clients and to ask them to buy, to figure out who your best client is, to make that initial call and to sell them on your product or service. Even if they're coming into your business to buy, you have ultimately are going to have to show them your product and ask them to buy it. So that is sales one-on-one. Another option at the other side of the coin is marketing. Marketing is about figuring out how to reach your customer, how to make your product or service attractive, analyzing your market, understanding the demographics of your client, and understanding what promotion tools are best to use to reach them and bring them into your business to buy. Another hat you might wear is personnel. In hiring, training, and managing, disciplining your employees, that is an entirely different area and is typically a separate department in a business. Also, there's the day-to-day operations, which is probably the reason most of you have gotten into or want to get into the business you're looking at. You enjoy doing that aspect, that piece. You enjoy creating that product, selling that product. And so that's the actual making the product and providing the service. That's your day-to-day operations. There's also the overall leadership hat, which is about setting goals, strategies, planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the operation, and understanding the buck stops here. You are the ultimate leader of the organization. And then there's the finance hat, to make sure that the money is there to meet the bills, bookkeeping, budgeting, taxes, making sure reports are done on time, all that type of thing. So those are the different hats one might wear. Inevitably, some hats are going to fit you better than others. One of the things that's important to remember is that you are a very smart person. You wouldn't be considering business startup. There's no question in my mind, or there should be no question in your mind, that you can do all of these functions. You can wear all of these hats. And if today you don't have the skill set to do it, you can certainly gain that skill set. That said, you will always like doing some things better than others. So ultimately, you're going to, because we're all human, you're going to gravitate to the pieces that you like best and do those things first, and then leave the things that you like least for last. One of the steps we want to go through is figure out which of those pieces you're going to like best and which you're going to like least, because every aspect is important in owning your business. And we want to know which things you're going to like least so we can help fill in the gaps there, okay? We're going to know which hats you're going to need to buy to make this business successful. Many of you have probably taken some type of personality profile analysis over your life. You may have taken DISC or Myers-Briggs. There's a variety of different kinds of personality analysis, profile analysis that are used to determine which kinds of, which areas are most important to you. So this particular one is one that's provided for us by Debbie Hensley Initiative, but it's a very quick down and dirty assessment of what things you're going to like best about in business and what things you're going to like least. As you look at your worksheet, Understanding Yourself and Others, you'll see 10 rows of 4 words in each row. For example, in the first row, you have directing, influencing, steady, and cautious. Consider those 4 words carefully and think of which word describes you the best. If you decide that the word steady describes you the best, put a 4 in the box next to steady. If you decide cautious describes you the least, put a 1 in the box next to cautious. Now look at directing and influencing. If you feel that directing is more like you than influencing, put a 3 next to directing and a 2 next to influencing. So now you have a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1 in the boxes in that first row. Continue on and compare each row, the 4 words in each row, and put a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1 as appropriate in that row. When you're finished with all 10 rows, add up the numbers in each column and put the total in the boxes at the bottom of the column. Go ahead and stop your video so that you can go ahead and complete your form. When you're finished, we'll restart the video and we'll talk about what your results mean. If you have the highest number next to the D, here's what that means about you. It means that you probably like to make quick decisions. You probably love a challenge. You love directness, competitiveness, forcefulness. You might enjoy independence, winning, decisiveness, speed, results, and status. You may be annoyed by softness, weakness, nitpicking, and foot dragging. Does that sound like you? Okay, if you have a high D, you're probably going to be comfortable with the leadership hat. You're going to like to direct things. You're going to like to be in charge. You want to be doing the planning. You also might like the sales hat. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that might be a hat that would fit you well. Okay, what about the I? How many people had the highest number next to the I? Okay, so let's look at I. If you have a high I, you are influencing. If you are an influencing person, you probably like a lot of interaction. You place a lot of importance on relationships, expressing thoughts and feelings, optimism, belief that work can be fun, and constant change. You might enjoy creativity, enthusiasm, passion. You might be annoyed by too much emphasis on research, rules, or regulations, boredom, ignoring the group, or insensitivity. Is that you? Okay. If you have a high I, you might also be good at sales. I do encourage you to look at your D also. If you have a fairly high D, then you probably really are going to be good at sales. If you have a low D, you still might want to rethink that because you might like people, but you may not want to go out and approach them one-on-one and ask them to buy your product or service. But you may understand people, even if you don't have that D to help you go out and do sales. You may actually understand how people work. And that's going to help you with the hats like marketing and personnel. So high I people are going to help with, be good with sales, marketing, and personnel. Okay, how many people have a high S? Let's think about a high S. High S's like security, stability, harmony, teamwork, joint projects, pleasant and relaxed work atmosphere. They enjoy conformity, cooperation, helpfulness, loyalty. They might be annoyed by disruptions, pushiness, verbal or physical attacks, and strong individualism. High S's like the product development side. They want to be able to develop a product or service that's going to be helpful to people and will serve a need. They may like the operations side. They may like the actual providing the customer with whatever product or service works best for them. And they may like the marketing side because they want to make people happy. So they're going to help people. They want to be able to connect with people and help them find their product or service. Okay. How many of you might be a high C? If you are a high C, you are conscientious. You have high standards, careful analysis, tact, diplomacy. You probably weigh pros and cons before you make a decision. You enjoy accuracy, completeness, attention to detail, dependability, and on-time performance. You're probably annoyed by mistakes, sloppiness, lateness, incomplete research, and too much enthusiasm. If you're a high C, you probably like the operations piece. You like doing whatever it is that you do well. You want to do it well. You want to do it completely, and you enjoy doing that function. You probably also like finance. You enjoy making sure all the numbers add up correctly at the end of the month and getting the forms filled out. And so the finance piece is going to be something that's going to be very helpful to you. So whether or not you're starting a business, knowing these things about yourself is going to be helpful as you think about what you want to do with your life. because it's going to tell you the things you like to do and the things that you maybe don't like to do. So why is that important when you're starting a business? So let's say, for example, if you start, if you have a high, you have a high S or a high C, and you focus a lot on the operations, and you make a really great product or service. But if you don't have that high I or D that's going to help you be good at sales, you may never get your product sold to people. If you don't sell your product, there was no point in having your business. Okay. If you have, let's say you have that high D, so you're a leader. You love making the decisions and doing the work, and no one can do it quite like you can. So, and you say you have that really low I, and you don't have that appreciation for other people. So you may not focus as much on the personnel side because you know how to do it and you can do it best. But you're so focused on that, you're so focused on your goal that you don't realize how important having that strong, stable team is to your operation. And you may not understand the importance of delegating tasks and giving other people responsibility in your operation. And as a result, you're going to end up not being happy and being overworked and burn out quickly. Okay. And then there comes the people with the really low C. And I will tell you, when you're in business, when you're looking at business startup, very frequently, people will have a really low C, because people with really high C's, as a rule, don't start businesses. They are perfectly comfortable working for someone else, getting a check every week, making sure everybody in that business is doing what they're supposed to be doing, and moving on. Taking a chance and starting a business it doesn't come naturally to high C's. So wouldn't be unusual if you have a low C. What you might find, though, is if you have that low C, you might find you're not submitting important forms on time. You don't even know for sure if your business is really as profitable as it should or could be. Now, again, everybody, if you've answered the questions honestly, will find that there's some category where you are better and you like an area, you have a strength, and some category that is your least favorite and you have a weakness. That doesn't mean you shouldn't start a business. That's just who you are. And understanding that means you need to go back and figure out how you can fill in the gaps so that you can still be successful. And if you know that going into it, you will know how to fill in those gaps and figure out how to make that work from the very beginning. So perhaps one answer might be to have a business partner. If your business partner scores high in areas where you score low, then you share duties. You might complement one another. It's like a good marriage. You're going to have someone who is really great at making a wonderful product, and you're going to have someone who's really great at working with people. So they love to sell, they love to do customer service, and so those two people together are going to be able to produce a great product and get it sold to people. Okay. You'll have people, one person is the finance person, and they're there to help. Sometimes in a husband-wife team, you'll have one that's the stronger finance person. The other person's more the operations, product development, marketing, maybe even the sales side, but the two together are able to balance those pieces. You can work with an outside professional to handle the areas you like least. The high-low C choice, one of the best, it's one of the easiest ones to fill, because you can hire an accountant and just know that going into it, and budget to hire an accountant to help you with your books, to help make sure you get those reports turned in on time. You get your sales tax paid, you get your income tax paid. You know if you're profitable. You can hire an accountant, but just plan on that when you're doing your business plan and include it in your budget. You also might consider hiring an employee to assist in areas that you have lower scores. But just remember, employees can quit. They may not be there forever. So don't build your entire business around an employee that may not be there forever. If there's someone if there's someone that's filling a role that is that important in your business, it would be good at the outset to try to have them become a partner. Then they have a personal buy-in to the success of the operation, and they're less likely to just up and leave. And then again, as I've said, remember, you have the ability to wear all the hats, but every single area is important. Just make sure you don't shortchange one just because it's not your favorite. Thank you.